All right. So let's go. My name is Victor, right? Okay. And today, these are the things we want to do. We just want to focus on file system using synchronous method. I remember that the last time we treated files, right? File system, how to manipulate your file system. We used the asynchronous method. And I remember that when we executed, there was a time we executed two sets of code, right? Or a function that had two functions to call from the file system. And we found out that sometimes it's executed sequentially, which means the first one executes before the second one. And then we also found out that there is sometimes we executed that code and then the second one executed first, like the second one executed before and gave out its result before the first one. And that the reason for that was because we were using okay. So we'll see how we can use okay, CRUD our with MongoDB. I hope you guys can hear me well. Is not you guys can hear me well, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. So let's continue though. Okay, so although it's just that we are going to about and yeah, we'll talk about and I wanted to existing, this existing, right? So we'll talk about more of that, what these three mean, and and what to do it with Express.Js, right? Then it's practicing. So let me show my VS Code. Okay. Hope everybody can see my VS Code. Is there anybody that can see my screen? Hello.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. So we're finally here, and then let's try something out, right? So in the last class, we looked at using let me first import it. So I'll say fs should be equals to require fs, and then down here we say const, sorry, putting it in a function we had let's execute this. Let me just execute this. Then I'll just call that function later on. Then in our last class, we said to create a file, right? We'll just do something like fs dot dot write file, right? And then inside there we pass the name of the file we want to create. So we say task.ts or tax.txt, and then we want to add what we want to create as a task. So just say hello there, and then after that we pass a callback function, right? Function here, and then inside this function we have the error. If that doesn't execute properly, then we'd say if there's an error, then we return console.log, then we want to give out the error. But then if there's no error, with console.log created successful, right? And then if we want to execute that, we would say execute this, right? And so let me change directory into where this is. CD documents. Okay, I'm already there. So if I say node fs practice.js, you see created successfully, right? And then we have tax.txt here that has the word hello in it, right? Now, if we wanted to append to the file and we did it outside here and we run this over and over again, there's a possibility that appending might run first before writing this file, like creating the file, right? But then instead of using now writing this here is writing it using the as if you want them to if you want maybe write file to execute first before appending to the file, then you need to write this first. Then in here, after the file has been created, you can then now say fs dot append file, right? And then you can then start appending what you want to append to the file. If you want that control, right? That this one should run first. The file, write file should run first before append file. But putting this out here might make this append file run first before the write file, because writing like this means you actually we want to execute in an asynchronous way. So anyone might finish executing first. And of course, if append file is executed first but the file doesn't exist, it might throw out an error or something, right? But then for you to have that control of that flow, right? What you can do is, instead of using fs.write file, you can use fs.write file sync. So it's like saying fs.write file in the synchronous way. Coming back here to delete that file, let me delete it and then we'll go again. So to write this, and this is the simpler way to do it, you can say task.txt, right? And then you can then come here and say, hello world. Now, people might ask, how do you manage the error that's going to be generated here? Then you can wrap what you're doing in a try and catch. So what is going to happen here is you're trying to tell your system, or what you're telling your system to do is try to execute this, right? If there's any error that occurs while trying to execute this, then show it to me, like pass it to the catch block, and then I can actually get it from there and do whatever I want to do. So I could do like this. I could write here console.log, here is the error, right? And then I can then say error for the error. But then if there's no error, I could then say console.log executed successfully. Okay. So running that code now, when you come back and run it, you'll see executed successfully and everything runs properly. Okay. Now, the same way you can read file sync, you can also write file sync. Sorry, the same way you can write file sync, right? You can also read file sync. So read file sync is similar to how you read a write file sync, except that you have to declare a variable you want to use to read the file. So you can say const result should be equals to fs.read file sync to read a file. Then what you just need to pass here is the name of the file you want to read. So task.txt, right? And remember I said that this is going to return a buffer. So if we try to console.log results directly here, it returns back a buffer, right? But then to convert this buffer to a string, you now say results dot to string. So if you come back here and run the code, you now see hello world as the result from running that code, right? Then there's also, although I didn't show this in the last class, there's also a way to check if a file exists or a folder exists, right? You can use this. So you can say const does this exist? Does this exist is equals to fs dot exist sync, right? Exist sync is going to return back true if what you're trying to check exists. So what am I trying to check? Let me check if task.txt exists, right? Then our console.log does this exist? And then let's run that code and see what happens. True, it returns a true, right? Because tax.txt exists. But if I come and change this to like maybe tax.exe and I run it, we see that it shows us a false, right? So we can use this. Maybe if the file doesn't exist, create the file before appending to it. But if that file already exists, then just append to it without maybe trying to create a new one. And so that's where this exist sync is going to come in, right? I hope you guys are following. Any question? Then the same way, if you want to delete a file, you can use onLink sync, right? We can say
So
onLink
what of the
sync.
access method?
You say?
The access method. Can you also use the access method instead of the exist sync?
I haven't used the access.
Yeah, that's the access.
I haven't used this access method, so I can't say much about it.
Okay.
But I think this access method, according to what is here, tests the user permission for the file. So you might check if the you can check the user's permission for a particular file or directory specified in the path. So for this access, you just pass the path to which you want to, the path to the file at which you want to find out what kind of permission that file has. If the user is permitted to, okay, if the user is permitted to maybe read or write or execute that file, right? So that's what that access is. And there's also access sync too. So this is an example, right? Okay. So I think you can also use it to do the same thing. So this shows if you can use it to check if a file exists, right? Also, we pass the file here, constant FOK, whatever that means. Then you say console.log the file, and then if the file exists, you see that it will show that the file exists. If it doesn't exist, sorry, if it doesn't exist, then this is what is going to show, right? So if they what we are simply saying is if there is an error, then show that the file doesn't exist. But if there is no error, then means the file actually exists. So this one is then you can check if a file is readable, is writable, right? So there you can use it to check if a file exists. You can use it to check if a file is readable or writable too. And there are more examples on it. But personally, I haven't used that, so I can't tell you much about how that is, like how it's being used. All right, okay. Hope I've answered you. Hello.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Okay.
yes, but I made use of the access method in my own code.
Okay. Problem. It's still fine. It's okay. You can use access too. Okay. Then I wanted to talk about one again. FS dot. So on link sync, remember on link is used to delete, right? So I could say on link sync task.txt. Then after that, I can come back here and log out uh, task file as deleted successfully. Oh, sorry. Actually, it has deleted the task file, but this particular line of code didn't save up. So this is what I'll do. I'll create that file and I'll delete it again. So let's see. So I'm just taking it back, right? Yeah, so I've created the file again, and then it's time to go and delete it again. So just wait, let's get to where we stopped. Okay, Okay, so we are here. So executed successfully. Let's see. Right, the file has been deleted successfully. And if I try deleting again, it's going to throw an error because that file doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so you can use, and then this one is even more simpler than using the other method that I explained that day, right? I think this is simpler to you guys. Is it more simpler, or you guys prefer the other method? Guys, yeah.
This looks simpler, but I think
Hello.
there is no problem. There is no difficulty in using the other one too.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you because someone would like I'm seeing files in on link. What's the difference between both of them, right? And this is callbacks, right? The first one is callbacks. This one doesn't require callbacks, and this one is more simpler to actually use. Okay, then let's continue. Let's go to CRUD operation because this was just by the way. What we are actually going to do today is more of CRUD operation. So I hope you guys downloaded MongoDB or you downloaded Mongo Compass. Is there anybody that had difficulty with downloading and installing MongoDB or signing up to use Mongo Compass?
Thank you, sir.
I actually downloaded Compass, but I can't find it on my system again. I don't know why.
Everybody has downloaded it and there's nobody that has any issue with folder you downloaded. Have you checked the folder you downloaded it into? It may not have been downloaded into your
I
download
installed
folder.
it. I installed it last time, but I can't find it again.
Oh, well, have you searched for it?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe someone must have uninstalled it from your system. I can't really say, but then just try it. Just maybe install it again. Try installing it again. That's what I would say. Okay, so for people that find it difficult to use Mongo Compass, let's use Mongo Atlas together, shall we? But then if you're using Mongo Compass, then the link to your MongoDB would be MongoDB, then colon forward slash, then you have localhost colon 27017. That would be the link if you're using MongoDB offline, right? But if you're using the online one, which is Mongo Atlas, right? Then there's a different link you'll be given. So let's, yeah. Please, is someone asking a question? It's like your network is
Sir.
acting up.
Afternoon, sir. Fine, sir.
Yeah.
So everywhere is good for now, sir. We pray it remains like this. August, sir.
You say everywhere is
Afternoon, sir.
okay. Imole, can you mute yourself? Okay. So let's continue. Let's see how we can use MongoDB Atlas, right? So I just googled MongoDB or Mongo Atlas because Mongo Atlas.
I have a question.
Okay, ask your question.
What I want to ask, in this file creation, the one you gave us, this file,
Yeah.
I think is it possible to give the code, to write the code all at the same time? Because I understand each of the codes, but is it possible to write it all at the same, or should we wait for each? Should we create it one after the other? Like I've created a folder. I'm just creating I'm just creating the files and the subsequent folders. I said, is it possible to do it all at once and let it run, or take it one after the other?
No, it's possible to do all and let it run at once.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, that's how I want it to be. Once you just you write the whole code, right? And then once you execute it, you should create all the files and folders at once.
Okay, no problem. I will do that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what's the difference between Mongo Compass, MongoDB, and MongoDB Atlas? MongoDB Compass is like it's an environment where you can use to communicate with your MongoDB Atlas, right? And you can also use it to communicate with your MongoDB that you installed offline. So it's just like having my SQL, and then you have PHP MyAdmin, or having my SQL and you have my SQL Workbench. My SQL Workbench there is not the MySQL itself. It's kind of an interface that helps you communicate with MySQL, right? So that's the same way you have Mongo Compass. Mongo Compass is that interface, that graphical interface that shows how maybe the collections you have, the databases you've created, and the records in each collection, right? But then we won't really be concerned with Mongo Compass now, right? Because we can also access the same interface that Mongo Compass gives us using Mongo Atlas, right? So let's see how to do that. We click on MongoDB Atlas, and it will take us to a place to choose an account, right? I don't need to sign up, right? I need to sign in because I already have an account with them. Okay. Then this is what they're going to ask. I'll use Google. You can put in an email, put in a password if you have email and password. But then I'll use login with Google because I think that's how I actually signed up. So yes, so I'm actually logged in now, and this is the interface you will be presented with. But then the database is where all the magic happens, right? Now, once you're done creating your profile for your MongoDB, and then you get to this place, remember to come to the network access, and then in order to allow any IP address, right, to be able to connect to your MongoDB, you just use 0.0.0.0/0. This is like, although this is not ideal if you're in a production environment, if you're doing it for a company, right? You want to access which service has access to your database. But since I don't have any company level stuff here, right? So that's why I leave it open. So that even if I'm trying to connect with MongoDB using my offline Express or the one I hosted on Render or any other place, right? It should connect seamlessly. So let's come back here, right? This collection, right? You have collection of your database with their collections of let's say should we call it tables, right? You have these three buttons. You can view monitoring. Monitoring is like the statistics of like okay, how many request has been sent, what data size has been transferred and received and all those stuff, right? And you see most of them are in the last 6 hours. But then let's go over to browse collections because that's where we'll be able to see everything we are trying to do. If you click on browse collection, you'll see a list of databases that you have. See, you have a list of databases and you can create a new database, right? So now MongoDB just makes database usage simple. Even if you don't create a database here, but once you try to connect with a database name that doesn't exist, MongoDB will just automatically create that database for you. But then let's just create a simple database, right? I'll just call the database KodeCamp _CRUD. And it's required that every database name should also have at least one collection, right? So I'll just call this, I'll just call the collection, the first collection in the database, because the database can't be empty. I'll just call it tasks, TASKS, right? Then don't worry about additional preferences. We don't need any of that. And then you just click on create. Once you click create, it's going to create the database for you, and it's going to create the name of the collection for that database, right? So this collection can contain records, right? But then how do we push records from our end to the database? So let's come back here, click on database. You see this connect button. This connect now is going to show you how you can connect with your database. Okay, so if I click on connect, it will ask me, how do I want to connect? Do I want to connect with Mongo Compass, right? Do I want to connect with the shell?
Mr. Victor,
yeah,
is the MongoDB, is it free or paid?
yes, it's free. They have
because I'm
and
trying I'm trying to follow what you are doing, and he's saying I should pay. I tried to build a database, I mean, create a database. Then it
okay,
is taking me to payment stuff.
It depends on how you created it. When you created it, did you create it with a free tier? Because there's always a free tier and there's the paid one. So if you choose the free tier, then they will give you some space, right? Some space to put your sample data and test and do whatever I want to do. But if you choose the one that wasn't free, then they will always ask you to pay.
Okay, then sorry, for the providers, I can see AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure.
For the provider, what was the one that was chosen by default?
AWS.
It's always AWS, so that's what you choose.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So if you choose, I choose to connect via what they call it, MongoDB Compass, right? If you don't have So now it's telling me if I don't have MongoDB Compass installed, right, then I'll have to go through all this process, download it, or I copy the download URL. I'm not really interested in actually downloading it now. But if I have MongoDB Compass already installed, then it won't show me this step. So if I choose it, it's going to hide that step. Okay. So this is what we are actually looking for. Right. So we copy this and we paste it on our code. Right. Now copy it. Let's go back to our code and paste it. And also, I'm going to show you something else that is important. So we are going back to our VS Code, right? Now, I need to, let me come back here. Let me use this index. Or let me check if I've installed. Okay, I have Express here. So let's do the scaffolding together, right? Or let's create the basic, the boilerplate code for everything, shall we? Hello, are you guys there?
Yes,
So
sir,
what,
with you.
Yes, we are with you.
what is the first line I should write now? Let me just paste this here and comment it. So what do I
Okay.
write on the first line?
The first thing is to include the Express module.
Yes.
Then instantiate it.
Okay.
Const app Express. Then I think you should also include the MongoDB, Abi.
Yeah, we'll do that. But then there's
Okay,
another.
then you have to listen to it.
Okay.
App.listen, then the port number, a callback, port and a callback function.
Yeah. Now the callback is optional. So even if you don't pass the callback, everything is still
Yes.
okay. Okay, so we'll say function okay, so instead of putting 4,000 here, I'll just say const port is equals to okay, let me just say 4,000. Okay, now before you start working with MongoDB, you need to install a package named Mongoose. So now Mongoose is a kind of ORM, object relational mapper, right? What does Mongoose help us to do? Mongoose helps us to communicate with MongoDB. Now, this is how the flow works. When someone sends a request, let's say from a mobile app or if a website to our service, Express receives that request. Then, based on what you're going to write, Express can hand over that request to MongoDB. Then, maybe that request is saying it wants to query the database. Then, once MongoDB returns a result for that query, that result can be handed back over to Express. Then Express is going to send the response back to the user or to the app that actually made the request. So that is the flow, right? It gets to Express. Express passes it to MongoDB. MongoDB does something, and then MongoDB can tell Express, okay, I'm done with this thing, or this is what you asked me for, collect it. And then Express will pick it and then send it back to the user. Okay. So we need to install Mongoose. So say npm install Mongoose. Okay. So Mongoose is being installed. And then also, I wouldn't want to share my password right out here. So in this place for my password, I will need to write my password in there. But then I'll show you a way that you can actually maybe hide things like this from whoever wants to use your service, or hide sensitive information from the public. Now, if you want to hide information, right? If you want to hide things, right? There's what is called .env, right? So they are what is called environment variables. Now, what are environment variables, right? They are variables you set based on the environment that your package or your project finds itself. Like for example, if we are in a production environment, we might be using another account for MongoDB, right? But then if we are in the test environment, I might decide that, okay, if we are in a test environment, then the account that the database should point to should be my local database, maybe the local database on my laptop or another database. But once I push to production, right, I don't need to go and change the environment variable again, because I've already set it for different scenarios, right, or different environments. Do you guys follow? For example, let's say I am building a website for, or an API for a bank, for example, right? You won't want to test if the bank API is working fine on production, right? So you might host that API in two different places, right? One is on your system, which you can carry around, right? You can do your testing and everything on your system, and you want it that each time you're testing on your system, the database you should point to should be the database on your system, not the one online that has real people's data, right? But then once you finish testing and you push online, it should automatically understand that, okay, this other environment up there is the one for real people, and it should know which database to actually query, right? So if you want to do that, if you want to set my environment variable here, I'll say I'll install a package called .env. npm install .env. Does anybody have any question based on what I've explained so far? Any question? Then if I want to use the .env here, I would say const, no, sorry, I would say require .env .config. Yes. So now this will let me create an environment variables for this particular environment, right? So now how do I create that? Now, if I wanted to use MongoDB directly here, this is what I will do, right? Apart from this line, right? Let me even comment that line. If I want to use MongoDB directly here, I would say, I'll come here and say const mongoose should be equals to require mongoose. Then for me here, I would say const. I like using connect. Connect should be equals to mongoose.connect. Mongoose.connect is what is used to connect to your database, right? And then this mongoose.connect accepts a URI, it accepts some options, and it returns a promise. It returns a promise. Remember what we now we'll see how we can use promises here too. So I can simply copy this full link, right? But then I have not yet included my password in there. I can copy my full link, come here and paste it, right? Then after that, remember that this is going to return a promise. So the promise is going to be, was it fulfilled or was it rejected, right? So this is what I can do. And I won't want to use await here because this is not.
Hello. Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
The end part, that's the query. Retry write equals to a major W equals majority. We omit that
Where?
in the password. The connection string.
Here.
Yes, mine has retry write equals true, and we W equals majority at the end after the .NET.
Oh, try and that rewrite, right? That is in query string.
Yes.
Why do I need to include it?
I'm asking, do we omit that? It's in my own.
Yeah, okay, it's in your own, but it's not, to me, it's not necessary because you can still connect to your, I think that try write just enables your, retry, it enables your code to try and reconnect again if it didn't connect on the first try. But then I know mine is going to connect on the first try, so that's why I actually omit it. Are we good? Have I answered you?
Yeah.
Okay. So remember that await is always put inside an async function. So how do we consume this promise? I'll say connect dot then. Then here, this first one is going to run if everything like connects well. So I could then say console.log connected successfully, right? But then if something happens that I didn't connect well, I'll say dot catch. Then yeah, I'll pass in the error there. And I'll say console.log could not connect to the database. Then I could say something like reason equals to the error, so that it will say could not connect to the database. Then the reason, then it's going to show the error down there, right? Okay, so we've written a lot of things already. I know this isn't actually going to work out, right? But then let's just try it. Okay. So if I execute npm, node index, Yeah, listening on port 4000. It's trying to connect to MongoDB, and then we get an error, right? Could not connect. The reason, bad authentication, right? Authentication failed. Okay, but then I purposely made it do that, right? So I'm going to put in my password, right? I'm going to put in my password, but then I'll stop sharing my screen and then I'll put it in. But then before I put my password, I don't want to be using this everywhere, right? So now, of course, you know that if I push this code online and I deploy this my service online, this MongoDB SRV will still be the environment at which my database is going to point at, right? So, but I don't want it to be like this, right? So what I'll do now is I want to use .env to create an environment, right? And then put all the configurations in there. So this is how I do it. I'll come here and create not a new folder. I'll come here and create a new file. I'll call that file .env, right? .env. Then this .env just needs to contain, or it contains key value pairs, just like it's more like how objects look like, right? But then this one doesn't. You don't need to put your curly braces or put any quotation mark. So you just write, so if I want to connect to MongoDB, I could just say MongoDB URL should be equals to, then I'll come here and copy this full MongoDB URL. So just I'll copy it or cut it, and then I'll come here to the env and paste it. Now, don't push this env file online. It's wrong. Don't push it online. Don't ever push your env file online. So as the same way we are ignoring node modules, would ignore .env, because it's not good to push your env file online. If someone visits your repository, the person can copy the content of your env file and be using, let's say, use your database to do whatever I want to do without your permission. So it's wrong to do that. And then this test.rest too, we shouldn't even push it to online, because you don't really need to, I don't need people to have, maybe, you know, that this test.rest contains sensitive information to, like, usernames and password, right? And maybe authentication keys and the rest. So I want to also ignore this one. So anything that has sensitive information that has to do with your code base, you shouldn't push online. So I'll also ignore this, right? And I want to ignore anything that has the .rest extension. So I'll just say star.rest, or the .rest. Or this asterisk here is called a wildcard. So it's like saying anything .rest. So I also want to ignore anything .http. So that in case another day I come and create another file with .http as an extension, it is not going to push it online too. Is there anybody that is lost? Anybody that is lost? Hello?
We ignore it for attack as well.
You say what?
Our attacks.
Your task?
We have a tax to be our EMD.
Which task are you referring to?
The one you will give us.
Yes, there is a task for you guys to do, yes.
So are we to ignore it or to do it?
Are you I don't get why would you ignore your task?
Yeah, advising us to ignore EMB. I'm saying do we ignore it when we want to push our code and submit?
Well, the task I gave you doesn't have anything to do with
I'm
your.
saying future one that we include it.
Okay, yes. In the future ones that we would have to write things that has to do with maybe connecting to databases and maybe sensitive information. Yes, you're going to use this env, you're going to ignore your .env. Yes, you're going to do it. Have I answered your question?
Yes.
Yes, you'll definitely do it. It's the best practice, right? So that someone, let's take for example, I and you, we are working on the same data, or let's say we are working on the same project, right? And then it might not even be something that has to do with database. Let's take for example, there's a service that you configure that sends email automatically to users, right? And then you include the username and password of that email on your env file, and you push your env file online, and you add me to that project to work with you, right? Or you not me, you add someone that maybe steals people's sensitive information, and the person sees that, right? The person can use your service with your money. Let's say it's a paid service. The person can use that service with your money to actually maybe send request or do whatever I want to do with that service, and the service providers will count it for you without your knowledge. So it's important to always hide sensitive information. Okay. All right. So let's see what is remaining now for me to do. Now, for me to include that env file in my index.js, I just need to first copy this the key, right? Because it's the value of this key. Then on my index, I'll come here and I'll write process.env dot, then I'll paste that URL. Okay. Then the same thing here. Remember I said that when you are pushing your code online, the port that might be assigned to you might not be the port that you actually chose, like 4,000 now. So you're going to do something like this. You're going to write process.env.port in capital letter. Then you now put double pipe. So now what you're saying here is, if there is a port that is assigned to that environment that I am on, then give that port, right? Assign that port to this variable. But if there is no port, right? If this port is undefined, then take 4,000 to be the default port for me to use. I hope you guys are following. Who is not following? Hello, who is not following? Or who is having issues? Anybody?
I'm following.
Okay, cool, no problem. So let me get to another screen, and then I'll come back and we'll continue. I want to put in my my password. So let me just share you guys this other screen, and then I'll quickly put in my password. All right, so let's come back to VS Code, and I won't show you the contents of my env file anymore. right? So I've edited the password there, and if I come here and run node index, you see listening on port 4000, then you see connected successfully, right? So I've been able to connect successfully with the database, right? I could crash that and come here and write connected successfully to my data, or okay, let me not say to my database, right? Now, let me show you guys something I didn't also show before. Now, let me share the other screen. I'll show you guys something. Okay, so let me come back. All right, now, in order for me to make it connect to my database directly, right? In order to make this connect to my database directly, after the slash, you write in the name of the database, right? Remember that the name of my database, let's come back here, right? The name of my database is what? Let's browse collections, right? KodeCamp, KodeCamp CRUD. I wrote E at the end.
Sorry, how do we connect? I'm unable to connect.
Okay, what is the issue? What is the error you're getting?
No, it's showing as in from MongoDB Atlas. I've choose a connection method. I've done that just to connect.
Okay, we are going to resolve that very soon. So let me create the database again. I'll call this KodeCamp underscore CRUD. Let me copy that also. Come here, I'll just say tasks, and then I'll click on create, and it creates that, right? Then coming back here to our our code base. After the slash, you put in the KodeCamp CRUD, that name, you put it there, okay? If you don't put that name, right, it will connect to MongoDB, but it won't connect to that particular database, right? So that's what I always like to do. So what was your question again? Sorry, I didn't. You said you're having issue connecting, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what is the issue? What does it show you when you try to connect?
That's where I get the password string. I've gotten to where I get the password string. It says add your connection string to application, replace password with the password, ensure any option parameter are included. Then I have go back.
Okay. I understand what is happening. Now, come to this place that you see database access.
I'm coming on.
I hope you can see my screen now.
Where?
Come to this place you're seeing database access. Everybody, for you to create a database access, right? Come here to this database access. Are you guys here?
Yes, I'm there.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Come to database access, click on it. When you click on it, click on add new database user. Now, The username and password you're going to enter here is the username and password that you're going to use to connect to your atlas, to that particular database, right? Not really to that database, to connect to Mongo Atlas as a whole, right? As this particular, this is how it's being done, right? You have, once you create a Mongo Atlas, right? Account, you have an organization, Victor's organization, this is mine, right? This Victor's organization, you can have users, you can add different users that should have a database access, and then you can also assign their roles, right? There's admin role and there are other roles, right? Then you need to have at least an admin, and maybe you can have more admins. It's not by must, you must have only one admin, but at least you should have somebody that can connect to that database, right? So when you come here, click on add new database, create username and password. Then after that, for the role, right? For the role, you can select one of the built-in roles. Or sorry, add built-in role. So it's going to ask you which one. Is it an admin? Like the account you're trying to create now for database access, is it an admin account? Is it an account to only read and write to any database? Or should it be able to read and write, to only read to a database? It shouldn't be able to write. Okay, so to make things simpler, you can choose the admin, or you can choose read and write to any database. But I think I'll choose admin, right? So you choose admin, then don't worry about these temporary users and all this, just come and add a user. Have we done that? Has everybody done that? Hello, has everybody done that?
Done that.
Okay, is there anybody that is confused? Anybody that is confused?
I've done mine.
Okay, cool. Now, the next thing, after you've created, remember the username and password that you used to. I hope you guys remember. Then come to network access. When you come to network access, click on add IP address. Now, on this add IP address, in this access list entry, because we want to make it open, right? You just type 0.0, sorry, 0.0.0.0/0. Then the comments, optional comment, don't worry about including a comment. Even if you include a comment or not, doesn't really matter. Then you just come and click confirm to add that IP. This 0.0.0.0/0 is saying, I want my IP to be, I want any IP address to be able to connect to this database. Now, these two things you've done are just for security, like they are for security purpose, right? So if you just want only your back end that is hosted on the cloud to be able to connect to this database, your API or your back end, wherever it's hosted, there will be an IP address that will be paired to your service or to your API. Then if you want only that your API to access the database, you can come and add the IP address that you were given when you deployed your stuff, right? Then the same thing with the database access. Database access now, anybody that has that username and password, right? So now, what is going to happen if someone has the username and password of the database, but your database network access is not open for everybody? Even if the person has the username and password, the person might not be able to connect because the IP address that is going to come from that person's query might not be the IP address or will not be the IP address you include, but writing 0.0.0.0/0 is going to make it open to everybody. At least that's what we want to do for now. So has everybody done this? Hello?
I've done mine.
Yes, yes.
Then now come back to your MongoDB URL after the username, right? In the password, include the password that you created at that place, right? At this place, include the password you created for that user, right? And make sure that the row is the admin, right? So if you've done that, let's go back to VS Code. If you've done that, then you need to come back and now I might not want to run node index to just run this, right? Remember that I set up a start script that when once I write npm start, it should come and execute this. Then another thing I want to talk about is remember that each time that we edited our index.js, we needed to come and crash the server and start it again so that it will get the change. Do you guys remember? Hello?
Yes,
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 sir.
yes,
You guys clearly remember that?
yes.
Yes.
For the benefit of those people that were not here, and maybe I'll just do it again. So I would say app.get, then I'll put / here. You can use arrow functions here. So it's also accepted. REQ, RES, request response. Then I want to respond once you send the request, I'll say res.send. And here I'll say hello. So if I run npm starts, this starts, it connects to my database successfully. If I come back here and I sent a GET request, or let me just go to my browser. Let me share my browser screen. Right? I come to my browser and then I type localhost 4000, right? You see, hello, but let's come back to VS Code, right? Without crashing the server, if I come back to this place and write hello world, but I don't crash the server is not going to get this change, right? So if I go back to my browser, if I come back to my browser and I refresh, you see, it hasn't gotten that change of hello world unless I come back to my VS Code, right? And I crash the server by using Ctrl+C to crash it. Then I come back and run npm start again. Then after that, I can go back to my browser and if I refresh, you see, it has hello world now. But then that is not ideal. How many times do you want to crash a server? So instead of that, there is something we can do. There is a package named NodeMon, but now you don't install NodeMon as a full dependency. You install it as a def dependency. So you say npm install -d in capital letter, then you now say NodeMon. So it has installed NodeMon as a def dependency. And then what we can do here is, instead of writing in this start, we write node index, we are going to write NodeMon index. Now, what does nodemon does? What is even the full meaning of nodemon? Some people say, wait, the first time I used nodemon, or they told me to install nodemon, I think it was written also. I used to call it no demon, but it's nodemon, node and mon, not nodemon, nodemon, and it's the short form for node monitor. But just it's the short form is nodemon, right? Now, what nodemon does is nodemon watches for file change. When once there is a file change, it will automatically restart your server. So instead of, so now there are two ways you can run this. You can write nodemon no. If you want to run this, just write npm start. It's going to run nodemon index, right? Let me see if you write nodemon index on its own. It's going to tell you nodemon is not found, right? Nodemon is not a command. So, but the simple way to do it is to write npm start. So it's going to start reports on 4,000. Then I can change this. If I change this to, let's see, if I change it, you see that the change will automatically, the server will automatically restart. So if I change this from hello world to hello, look, you see, the server automatically restarts, right? It's automatically restarts and picks that change. So that is ideal, right? So has everybody reached this extent? Has your server connected successfully? Has your database connected successfully? Is everything working fine? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is it working?
Mine is working.
Okay, so it has connected successfully to database, right? Has yours
Yes, sir.
Sorry,
Okay,
please, where did you copy the URL again? That MongoDB URL.
this one?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'll show you again. Let me share my screen. Okay. Give me a minute. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so this is where I copied it. Come over to the database section. This database. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, yes, I'm there.
You come to database, come to connect.
Connect, okay.
And then when you connect, you see compass here.
Yes. Explore, modify, and visualize your geo. Okay.
Yeah. Then when you click on it, you'll see down after the select your operating system, you see copy connection string.
Okay, okay, yeah. I've seen it.
So
I've
you can,
seen it.
and then remember to include the database name. Now, if you include a database name that doesn't exist, MongoDB will automatically create that database when you try to query it the first time.
Wow.
Okay. Someone said ban. All right. So are we there? Are we there? Who else is not following? I believe everybody is following. Everybody follows up to this extent.
I'm following.
Okay. Nobody has complained so far. So I'll continue. Please, if you're not following, indicate. I'm not an angel. I won't know if you're following if you don't tell me that you're not. I won't know if you're not following if you don't tell me you're not following. Okay, if you're following too, that's fine.
Without the data.
Huh? What
So
did you
what
say?
if you want to work with the database offline instead of connecting online?
Yeah, if you want to work with it, then this is what's offline, this is what you write. So in your env file, you can say MongoDB URL or whatever I want to call it, right? MongoDB URL should be equal to MongoDB : / local
Oops.
host :
Okay.
27017.
Okay.
Then / the name of the database you want to connect to. So even if the database doesn't exist, you can just include it. It's going to
But you must have the MongoDB compass installed first.
not MongoDB. Apart from installing MongoDB Compass, you need to have the MongoDB server installed also on your system if you want to use it offline.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but the simpler choice would be to use the Mongo Atlas, which is the one online already. Okay, so those are the two ways to connect. This one is used when you're trying to connect with the one online. This one is used when you're trying to connect to the one offline, right? The port is always going to be 27017, except you change it by yourself. I think MongoDB's port is 3306. Oh, sorry, did I say MongoDB? Is it SQL? I don't know. I rarely use SQL.
Please, how do we create an instance of the database?
To create an instance of a database, is it the one? Is it on your MongoDB server or MongoDB Atlas?
Anyone, just to create an instance so that you can connect to it. Like this CodeCamp CRUD.
Okay, if you want to create an instance, right, of a database, you can come here on, just click browse collection on when you're on database, right? Let me come back here. When you're on database, you view all these things, you click on browse collections, right? And then once you browse collections, you'll see create database as a name there, right? Or as a button. When you click it, it will ask you the database name. And then every database must have at least a collection, right? It's just like saying every database on SQL must have at least one table, right? But here, tables are called collections, right? And we don't really have table here because MongoDB doesn't have a schema that everything has to follow, like from the database directly. You don't declare a schema, right? But you can declare a schema on your application, right? We are going to see all these things. Yeah.
What I'm saying is load a pop-up with load a data set, a sample data set, add my own data. Which one?
You say what?
What I'm saying is load a sample data set, add my own data.
Let me load a sample data set.
That's on collections.
Okay. So where is that CodeCamp CRUD? Let's say task here. Where is it? CodeCamp CRUD task here. I want to add a document, like, right, or a data, right?
No, how to add that? Okay, I think I've added it too. I'm there. Okay.
You've done it. Is this what
know.
you're referring to? How to insert a document to the task?
No.
Okay, how to
create that CodeCamp? That's what I'm after.
Yeah, you click on create database here. Then when you come here, you enter the database name, and then you can enter a collection name. The database name is the name of the database you want to create. Are you still confused?
I'm not seeing the way you are seeing your own. You are showing your own.
Okay,
That's
come
fine.
to, are you seeing this place? Are you seeing this sidebar? Come and click on database.
Done that.
Then do you see browse collections?
Yes.
Click on browse collections.
Done
Have
that.
you clicked on browse collection? Do you see create database?
No, no.
What do you see?
Don't explore your data.
Let him share his screen now so that you can direct him.
Wait, you say you see explore your data. Do you see any button there?
Do the sample data set. Add my own data.
Click on add my own data.
Okay, okay. Got it.
Okay, you've seen a place to create a database, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So if that is your first time, I guess that is what is going to show. But if it's not your first time, it's going to show this way. Okay, can we continue now? I hope we are all on the same page.
Yes.
All right. Let's come back here and let's see how we can make things happen. Now, remember that we needed a middleware to convert to manage our JSON, right? JSON that is gotten from the front end, right? So we should include that here again. So this is how to include the middleware. You say app.use. Then inside that app.use, you'd say that particular middleware is the express.json that way. Then now another thing we need to do is we need to Mongoose requires that we create a model, an application level model or schema for our database, right? And then what is a schema? Okay, now a schema is a blueprint for the representation of your data. Like it's kind of it's used to shape how your data is going to look, the data type, the data fields for that particular data, right? So the schema would be like, okay, if you're writing a schema, you can say something like there will be a username. The username would be a string. That username is required. So that means you must always provide a username. If not, we won't create your record, right? We can say that the username should be unique, right? We can say the username should be reference to another table, another collection, things like that, right? So we can say, okay, date of birth should not be a string. Date of birth should be a date. So if you try to pass a string there, it's not going to save your data, right? So a schema is just that is used to declare a rule, right? A strict rule on how you want your data shape to be, your data shape and your data type, right? For example, if I want it to be impossible to have two identical emails registered on the same account, I could say on my schema that the email field should be unique. So if that is going to prevent the database from accepting the same email twice. You know, all those kind of things, right? So how do I create a schema for my MongoDB? Okay, that's what I want to do now. I want to create a schema. So this is what I do. I'll come and create a new folder. I'll call that schema, and then inside that folder, I'll create a schema named task schema because that's for the first collection, right? I'll just call it task. That's what I just want to call it. And I'll just create a schema in there. I'll just call it task schema. Task schema .js. Then inside that task schema, I can create whatever I want to do. So first of all, I have to require Mongoose because it's Mongoose I will use to create the schema, right? So this is what Mongoose helps you do. Mongoose helps you connect to your database. Mongoose helps you create schemas for your database. Mongoose also helps you to save or query your database for information, right? So Mongoose is used with Mongo database, right? The same way we have, is it type ORM that you use for your SQL? There are other databases, right? And then they have their own ORM, right? But then the most popular for Mongo database, right, is Mongoose. So I'll say const Mongoose equals to require Mongoose. Then what else do I write here? I would say, okay, const, I would say task schema equals to Mongoose, new Mongoose, because it's a class somewhere. New Mongoose dot schema. Now this schema accepts an object. Don't worry, guys. I know that what I'm doing is might be abstract to you, but once you keep writing backend, you get used to it, right? So you have the task schema there. Task schema is equals to new mongoose dot schema. Then the task, I could say, okay, my task should have a task title. A task title. And then the task title should have a type of string. And it should be required. So I'll say required is true. Then after that, I could come here and say, I want my task schema to also have a task body, right? And the task body would have a type of string and a required of true. Okay. Then I need to create a model for my schema. So I could do something like this. Const task model, or let me just say task collection is equals to mongoose.model. Then now, this is used to create the collection, right? And then the model for that collection. So this model accepts the name of the collection and the schema to be used for that particular collection. Remember that here we've created a schema for our database. The next thing is to create a model, right, for that particular collection, which is the tax collection. So I could then say the name for that collection will be tasks. Then the schema which I want to pass here is going to be this task schema, right? So I would say task schema. Now, after doing this, I need to export this tax collection, right? This is another big topic, right? So I think we'll talk about it as a topic on its own. Sorry. So how do we export properties or methods from a file so that we can use it in another file, right? We'll say module.exports equals to, I like exporting mine like this. Is one of the ways you can export tax collection or export what you want to export. Some people will say module.exports.task collection should be equals to tax collection, which is also valid, but I'd like this other method. I'll say task collection. I'll just put it there. This task collection is the same thing as saying task collection should be tax collection. But since the key and the value is the same, I could just write it once and go my way. So what I've done here is I have created a schema, right? I've created the collection with the collection name. The collection is a model, right? I've created it with the name. It already exists, so it's not going to create it again. And then this schema, which is all this here. So then I can then start playing around with this tax collection. So who is anybody that is lost, totally lost, or you have a question you want to ask? Hello? You guys still here? Anybody that is lost? Anyone lost? All right, in the absence of any question, we will continue. I hope I can leave the screen. Or is anybody still typing what I'm doing? Or is anybody typing this? All right, so we'll come back here to our index, and this is what we'll do. For us to be able to use that task collection, we will need to first import it here. So we'll say const, let me just keep that bracket there. I would say require. Now, if you want to require something that is not a library, you first need to use your / to say from the present folder that I am in, I want to enter schema, then / task schema, right? There's no need for you to include the .js, so I'll just choose task schema. But then what do I need to write here? Task. Now you see, since I imported it properly, I'm seeing task collection there. So that means I exported it properly and I can import it properly too also. So doing that, I now have access to everything that has to do with the tax collection, right? So now how do we save? How do we delete? How do we edit? This is how we do it. Here, I want to, for this particular get request, I want to return all the tasks that are going to be saved, right? Or that might already have been saved before, right? So this is what I'll do. I'll say, for me to get all the tasks that are inside that particular task collection, I'll say const tasks should be equals to await. Now, remember that await is used inside an async function. So I'll need to mark this function as an async function. So I'll say await tax collection dot find. And then in here, I won't just respond with hello. So I'll return tasks. And since this is JSON, I could use response.send, but to be more specific, I would use response.json because I want to send back JSON, right? So this is used to get, right? Then what if I want to add a tax collection? This is what I'll do. App.post. I'll still say to / async req request response. And then in here, I would say, I remember I think I talked about, okay, let me ignore that. I would say, wait. I'll say task collection, or let's say, since I'm adding a new task, right? So now I just want to tell the user that the task has been added successfully. So there's no need for me to declare a variable, right? But if I want to send what I've added newly, I can also do that. Okay, let me send what I've added newly also. So I'll say new task. New task should be equals to await task collection dot create. Then in this task collection, remember that our task collection has a task. Let's come back here. It has a task title and a task body, right? So if we come back here, we would say task title should be. Now remember that whatever we are sending would come in as a request. So we say request.body dot task title. We'll do the same thing for the task body. So we'll say task body would be request.body.task body. Then after this, I would want to return something back to the user. So I could say ras.json. Then in here, I could say I'll say something like is request is request successful, and I'll say true there. And after that, I could send back the new tags I've added. So I could say new tags there. So what am I doing here? What is going on here? Let's see. When once a request comes, the request comes into Express first, right? If I'm sending a GET request, it comes into Express first. Then when once Express gets that request, it calls Mongoose, right? To find. So this find here is saying find every task in the task collection, right? Find all the tasks there and return it to this variable. And remember that await doesn't allow this line 25 to execute until all the tasks is saved as tasks. Then after that, we hand over the result of that query to Express as a response, and we say respond as a JSON, respond with this as a JSON, right? And then Express will respond with that. Then here what we are saying is, if you send a post request to the same endpoint, right, which is the /, then what we are saying is new tags will be equals to this task collection dot create. You see, create is used to create a new task, and we already know that the task will have a task title and a task body. Now, there's this thing I also that is also available to your schema. Now, remember that this task title and task body is just going to save task body and task title. It's not going to save a date at which this was being saved. And I wouldn't want to manually try to manage the date at which this task was saved. So this is what I can do. Here, after writing task title and task body on your schema, you can come here and write comma. That's after the whole object. You can come here and write comma. Then we can pass an option here that says time stamps should be true. Now, this timestamp of true here is going to add the created date and the updated date of that particular record. Okay. Is anybody confused? Anybody confused? Who has a question?
So I have a question.
Can I ask?
I have a question. When you were importing the fast collection from fast schema.js, how did you do it? Can I see that line? In your index.js file, where you were importing the task collection. Okay, okay. No problem.
Okay, is there any other question? No other question. So
Sorry,
let's.
please go back to the schema.
Okay.
The schema. So let's say, just for example, let's say we have, can we have like 2 or more schemas in the same folder?
Yes, you can have 2 or more schemas.
So does it, okay. Okay, so does it mean that if we are to create, if let's say we have 2 schemas now, let's say we now, for us to create the second one, are we now going to say const task collection 2 equals to mongos.model, then we give it a name, then we reference the second schema?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the better thing to do is, what I do is I don't create the same schema. Like, sorry, I don't create 2 schemas in the same file. I create 1 schema per file. So I can have like 5 different schemas. If I want to create like 5 different schemas, I can create 5 files here and then have those 5 different schemas in each file. I like have each schema in each file.
All right.
So that's better than actually putting all your schemas in one file.
Okay. I get that.
Yeah. Okay. And so is there any other question? All right, so in the absence of any other question, let's try to test what we just wrote. So I'm going to test the get first. So I'll come to my test.rest. I'll remove all this, right? Remember, it's 4,000 that we are trying to do our test. So I'll change this to 4,000, and it's a get request. Remember, it's a get request, right? And then I'll have to change this from post to get. And if everything works well, we should see an empty array sent back to us. So it works, right? The response, the response code is 200, and we see the 200 means okay. Okay is like, okay, like, yeah, we did what you wanted. X powered by Express is like, okay, yes, is Express is the API that you're making this request to is an Express API. You have an application type, the contents type, which is application. The content length is 2, which is those these 2 brackets. This E tag has to do with the request, the tag for that particular request you're sending, and it's usually unique, right? So if I send, okay, the tag for that particular request, I haven't actually used this to do anything, but it definitely comes with your request. Right, then we have the date here, the date at which you're sending, the date and time at which you're sending that request. And then we have the connection of close, right? There's also keep alive. Keep alive is saying, after I've sent you that response, I don't want the server to close or the server doesn't close the connection is still alive, right? But then the connection is closed here because we don't want to keep that connection alive. So what this means here is, when you're sending another request, right, you have to open another connection with the server, then send it your request. And only once the server sends back a response, that connection will be closed. So I send that a couple of times. We see that we get an empty bracket. But then if I want to add if I want to add a new, let's say data to my database, right? You say send request with a request method of post to that same URL. We'll say the content type that we want to send is application/JSON because it's JSON we want to send. Then after that, remember to skip a line and then come down here. We'll say the task title should be task 1. Remember, it's JSON. So this is JSON we are writing down here. Then we'll say the task body is, let's say this is my first task. Yep. Let me close this out. So we have that's being set up, right? Everything, application type, task title, task body, right? Then let me send this request and let's see what it's going to send back as a response. You see, it sends us 200, which means what we've done is successful. Is request successful, true. Then after it has saved the tags, right? It sends us back the tags title and the tags body. And it sends us an ID for that tags, right? So this ID is unique by default. So this ID is used to identify this tags, this particular tags, whether we edit the tags title or tags body, or we add more details or whatever I want to do. This ID remains the same till this document is deleted. Then this created at and updated at is the time at which we created and updated it. So now the created and updated time is going to be the same because this is the first time we are creating that document, right? Now let's go over to MongoDB and let's see what is going on. Let's go there, let's go there, let's go there. Now let's come back to this CodeCamp CRUD. Let's come to CodeCamp CRUD. Let's come to tasks. Yay! Can you guys see that it has saved that task? Do you guys see? So let's go back and add another task. Let's go back to our VS Code and add another task. Let's say task 2. Right? So I'll just say this is my second task. Right? Let me close that sidebar or that response. Then let me make the request again. You see, successful again. Everything works fine. Let's go to MongoDB and let's see. You see, it doesn't show up here because we did not refresh. So let's come back here and refresh. So if you refresh, you come here, you see tax 1 and you also see your tax 2. So who is not following? Who hasn't gone up to this extent? Anybody?
Sorry, let me see the index.js again.
Okay.
Okay.
What I'm simply saying here is that the tax title should be the tax title that is inside the request body of the request. The same thing I'm saying here with the tax body, that the tax body for our database should be the tax body of the request that was sent.
Okay, so that creates method is the one that sends to the to the MongoDB Atlas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's saying, so what happens is it sends this whole object, right?
Okay. So the
And
database.
database. So the database seeing this command create and seeing this object is going to first pass this object through this schema to see if this object meets all the criteria of this schema. For example, this tax title exists and the tax body exists, and the two of them are string. That is why everything is going on properly, right? But let's come back here. Let me change this tax title to a number. Let me change this to like 550 for the tax title. And let's send that request. Oh, it works. So let me see if that truly works out. Let me see why. Okay, what happens is JavaScript turns this tax title of 550 from it being a number to a string. It actually works out. See, but it's sending us back the 550 as a string.
So what if what? Okay, since the ID is unique, so even if you send something of the same value to it, it will just create another ID.
Yeah, it will create another one. True. So let's see. Why is it? I'm trying. Let me try sending a boolean. Let's see if it's going to convert it to. Oh, it still converts that to a string and saves it. Okay. That's strange about MongoDB. Automatically converting whatever I sent to it to automatically converts what I sent to it to a string, right? Okay, but then if I made this a number instead and I passed a string, then that's when it would actually give an error that it's expected a number, but I'm sending a string to it.
I'm having an error. It's telling me I'm unable to send. It's saying validation error.
It's showing validation error on yours. But on mine, it isn't showing any validation error. It just converts whatever I send to it as to a
It's not even adding. It's not going in at all. It's showing validation error. Tax
okay.
validation pay, tax title, part, tax title is required, tax body part, tax body is required.
Did you include this line before the get and post? Because
yes, I
without
did that.
including this line, it might not work out.
I did that.
Okay, then look at the spelling of your tax title here and the tax body.
That's in the schema.
No, not in the schema. When in your controller, check the tax title spelling and the tax body. Is it the same thing you have on your test.rest?
Same.
It's the same?
Yes.
Okay, then check this one. Is this tax title and tax body the same you have on your schema? Because this tax title is case sensitive. In fact, everything you type here is case sensitive. So if you type tax title here as a camel case, and then you're sending snake case here or small letter Stroud, then it won't work. Have you seen the error? Have you seen the issue?
No, I've not.
Okay, that's strange. Okay, I guess after the class, no, after the class, we will have our own call, right? And then I'll fix it for you. Is that okay? Okay. So now, let me just delete those extra ones, extra data I tried to send, right? Let's just have just 2. All right, so we just have the tax 1 and tax 2 for now. I've deleted it from the database. I know you can't see that, right? Now, now let me send a GET request again to that server, right? Let me send a GET again. So if I send a GET request now, you see, it returns back an array of the datas, right? I think if I expand this, you see that we have an array of 2 datas. We have the first one, which is this one, and we also have the second one, which is this one. Okay. Now, how do we get a single tax? Let's say I want to get only this tax. How do I get it? We've not written the code for that, right? So in order to get a single tax, there are actually 2 ways of doing it, but I'll use the one for the ID, right? I'll show you. So if I want to get a single tax, I'll say app.get, then I'll say / I want to use the ID, right, to get the tax. Now I can do something like this. Use a function, request, response. Then what I'll do here is const tax should be equals to await, and I need to declare this as an async function. Then here I would say await task collection dot find by ID. Then now what this here is called a parameter in Express.js. This ID can represent anything. It can represent not really anything though, right? What I'm passing here, right, could represent an ID, right? So if I want to search where that ID is, or let me just say, let me just pass / by ID. By ID, then I'll now put / then the ID here. So this is what I can do here. I could say, for me to get the ID that the user passes, right? I could then come here and say request.params.id. So now it is going to, what is going to happen is I'm saying find by the ID. So it's going to go into the database and look for any record that the ID is that particular ID that is passed here. So then I can then do this response.send, and I could use response.send or response.json, right? But JSON is strict. JSON makes sure that it is JSON that you're passing to it, right? Then I'll just say task here, right? So now this is going to return a task by ID. So let me come back here and just query the whole thing, right? So let's say I want to get only tax 1 by its ID. I'll just come and copy the ID, right? Then after copying it, I want to get that only that tax. I'll now say / by underscore or by hyphen ID slash. Then in that place for the ID parameter, I'll pass the ID there. If I send that request, you see, it only sends me tax1, which is the tax that has that particular ID. I hope you guys are following. Hello. I hope you guys are following. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Then if I want to get the second one, let me query to get all now. Query to get all. If I want to get the second one, I just need to get the ID first. So I can just copy the ID. Then I can come and to do right slash by ID slash, then that parameter for the ID, which is that long parameter. Then I'll click send request. You see, it then sends me that particular ID. See, it sends me that particular ID. Did I copy the second ID again or the first ID again? I thought it's tax2 that I copied. Okay, let me try to get tax2. Copy that, come here, slash by, let me close this out, by ID slash, then that ID, send request. See, we now have tax2. Then, how do I edit, right? Let's say I want to edit tax1, for example. Okay, let me show you the second way to get, right? I can get a tax by the name, right? So if I want to get a tax by name, I'll say app.get, then I'll say slash, maybe I'll just say by task title, then slash. Then I could do something like this with colon, and then I can write title. Then after that, I'll say request response. Then in here, I could say const task should be equals to await task collection dot. Now, what do I need to do? I would say find one. There's find one and there's find by ID. Now, find one is ideal when you're not finding by ID, you just want to find by a particular parameter. So I could say find one where the task title is request dot parameter dot title. Remember, this title here has to do with this title you're passing here. This ID here has to do with this ID. Even if I name this T, for example, I just name it T, then I'll have to say request the parameter dot T. So I remember that this is an await, so async await, then I can then response dot send task. So if we come back here and I say by name, Abi, let's say by name or by title. Okay, by tax title. So I'll just copy this, come back here. I'd say I want to get by tax title, then there I'll say task1, then send that request. You see, it's now getting where the title is tax1. See, it's getting it. If I change this to tax2 and I send the request, you see now that it's getting for tax2. If I change this to tax3, there's no tax3 actually. So it doesn't show any, right? Now, this is where you might start handling some kind of error. For example, you might want to check if the tax, if there is any tax. If there is no tax, you might want to send back a 404, which means not found. So you can, so for you to check that, you can say, remember that when we queried for tax 3, right? It sent back 200. 200 is like saying, correct, I've seen what you're looking for. But then it's not showing anything right there. So instead of that, you can do something like this. You can say, if there is no task, or if task is null, right? Then you might return res.send of not found. Then apart from returning an res of not found, you might want to change the status code from 200 to 404. So to do that, you will say dot status of 404. So you say response of status with 404 and then send the text not found, right? That's if a task is not found. But if a task is found, then this will become false, right? And then this is what is going to run. So let's come back and see that in action. If we send a request to task 3, you see now we have 404 not found. Then we have that our text we wrote not found, right? But then if we come and change this to task 2, which exists, and we send it, you see, it sends back a 200 with that particular task. Am I fast? Are you guys still following? Who is not following? Who is not following? Who is following? Everybody is following. Hello, you guys are following.
I'm trying to follow.
I'm not able to follow because of the error.
Okay, you're not able to follow because of the error. We are going to actually sort that error out, okay? So apart from you, any other person not following? Okay, no other person that is not following. So let's see how we can edit a task and how we can delete a task. That's the two things that are remaining. So I'll use patch. So I'll say app.patch, 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 and then where are we sending the request to? The same route. But we want to know which ID we want to actually change. So we say ID, then async request response. Now to edit, right? I want to find by ID and edit. So what I will simply do is await task collection dot find by ID and update, right? And I might also make it that you can only update maybe the body of the tax instead of updating the tax title and the tax body, right? Or I might make it that you can update both of them at the same time. But at this point, I just want them to be able to edit only the tax body. So I'll say tax find by ID and update, right? Now, find by ID and update is going to accept the ID at which you want to update. So the ID is at request.params.id, comma, then what we want to allow them update, which is the tax body. I'll say tax body is going to be request.params.task body. Then after that, we can tell them task updated successfully, right? And then if we want to delete, right, we can say app.delete, and then we would say want to delete /:id. Then we'd say async req res. Then to delete now, we'll just say await task collection dot find by ID and delete. Then inside this place, we'll pass the ID that we want to delete, and then
Hello.
guys, what happened? Hello. Sorry, network just kicked me out, and okay. All right, so we can continue. Actually, let me share my screen. All right. So we are back. I hope you guys can see my screen. Network just kicked me out. I don't really know what happened. So you guys can see my screen, right? Hello.
Yes, yes. You can see your screen.
Okay, cool. So let's see what it's showing. Fat timeout. This is because it couldn't connect to the to MongoDB. So this is what you can do. If you want to manually restart the server, right? Instead of crashing, you can just come to your terminal and type RS and press enter. Once you do that, it's going to try to restart. You see now, it's successfully connected to database. It was network that actually kicked me out. So sorry about that. Let's continue. Right, so I've done the necessary things to patch, that is to edit a task and to delete the task, right? Let's come back here and test it. So to edit, okay, to get task 2, you have a request for task 2, right? I can get task 2, and then for me to edit task 2, I need this ID. I'll copy that ID. I'll come here. Let me see. Okay, edit and delete, just accepts the ID alone. So I'll just paste that there. I'll change this from a get to a patch request. And remember, you always, anytime you're sending your content down, you always need to add your content type. So the person that said they had issues, did you add this content type of application /JSON to your request? Because if you don't add it, it's not going to actually work. So if you say task body here, and I could say task 2 body edited, right? Because remember that at this point I said it's only the task body that you can edit, task body that you can edit, right? And I can send back the edited task body as soon as you're editing it. So I could do something like, now if you want to send the new the edited task version, like the edited or the updated document, you have to write new of true here. If you don't pass this new as true, when you're trying to get the documents, you're going to get the former state of that document. But if you want to get the new state of that document, right, you need to pass in new of true. So I could do something like this. I'll say updated task here should be equals to that. Then at this point, I could say rest.json let's say message would be task updated successfully. Then under here, I'll put comma and I could say updated task, right? So let's come back here, right? Task body, task 2 body edited. So sending that request, you see, task 2 or task updated successfully. Then you see oh, task body sending, this is my second task. I guess the server didn't actually finish loading. Let me send that again. Okay, let me come back and see what I wrote. Task body, task updated successfully. Then the updated task there. Okay. Coming back here, task body edited, right? Send the requests, and it's showing this is my second task. Okay, so why is it showing this is my second task instead of the updated version? Okay, let me see, I'll figure that out. Okay, apart from that, let me make a get request to see that successfully updated. Okay, sorry, I need to include by ID and then send the request. Okay. So it didn't actually edit the task. Okay, this is my second task, not task 2 edited. Okay. Wait. If this is a push request, once that edit, let me see, push requests, then I would send that, saying cannot put by ID. Okay. Sending that push request. This is my second task. Okay. Let me see. That is surprising. It's supposed to update. Find by ID and update. Tax body is equals to. Oh, okay, guys. I've seen the problem. I was supposed to say request.body.taxBody, not request.params.taxBody. The params of tax body doesn't actually exist. That's why it didn't update. Okay, so if we want to do that, if we want to edit, we send that now. It's showing this is my second tax. Okay, that's because we made a get request. But then let's make that, let me take that back to a patch request. Let me take that back to a patch request and see. We come back here and we say patch, and we send that request. We now get tax 2 body edited. Then if we come back here and send a get request to / by ID, we send that request. Yeah, we see that tax 2 body edited. You see the edited form of that tax, right? And then if we want to delete that this particular tax too, we can just simply come here. We don't need this again, right? We don't need that. We just need to change this to delete. And then after changing that to delete, we remove this by ID and send that request. And once we send it, it shows that the tax has been deleted successfully, right? If we try to get again, if we try to get by that ID, we say / by ID, and then we send that request. You see, it doesn't return anything to us because it can't find that particular request we are looking for, right? Then if we send a request, a get request to localhost /4000, you see that it just returns to us one particular task because the second task was deleted, right? It only sends us tax 1. The tax 2 was deleted, right? So that's how like the whole CRUD process works. Create, read. The full meaning of CRUD is just create, read, update, delete, right? So it's something basic you should know as a back-end developer. You should know how to do CRUD. If you know how to do CRUD properly, then at least you've known the very important part of back-end development, right? So is there any question? Who has a question or if you're confused, you can ask your question now. Any question? Hello, are you guys still here? Who has a question?
Well, we've done too much today, so we need to digest it first.
Okay, all right. So you guys need to digest it then. After digesting it, if some didn't digest, you now ask question. Okay. All right, but it's quite interesting, right? You can save data, delete data, edit it, get the data,
Yes,
list of
yes.
data, get a particular data, and all those, right? And the schema is important because without that schema, right, it will be difficult to maintain consistency with your data, right? So that schema just enforces the rule to which or to how your data should be maybe saved or edited or any of those things, right? So especially when you're creating your data, right? The schema just keeps the rule there based on what you actually pass to it. Okay, this has to be this, a string, this has to be a number. You can pass in Boolean, you can say, okay, something should be a Boolean, something should maybe you can store objects or arrays as values, right? It's not only limited to strings, right? Like having type of string alone here. You can have type of number, you can have type of array, you can have type of object, you can have type of Boolean. Okay. Then um, let's see, because I didn't even show you guys the database part, right? I think I didn't actually show that much. This is how the data looks on the database. This is how it looks. You see, we have tax 1, tax 2. If I refresh now, then tax 1, tax 2 will be gone because I just deleted it. You see, we now have only tax 1. The tax 1 here, we see that it automatically has an ID, which is the object ID. You have the title, you have the tax, you have the body of the task. Then this created and updated at is because of that timestamp that we declared. So this created at and updated at contains the dates and the time of at which this particular document was created, right? If we update these documents, right, as soon as we update these documents, the updated at, right, the value of the updated at will change from being the same as the created at. It will have a different value. Okay. So is there any question? Is there any question? Who else has a question? We are good, right?
Yes, I think we are good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No problem. So enjoy yourself. See you on
So,
Thursday, right?
all right. But when are you going to upload this video?
Well, the video uploads is not done by me. I'm not the one in charge of that. That's one of the reasons why it doesn't come up let's say the same day that is being recorded, right? It doesn't come up that same day. That's because I'm not the one in charge of uploading it. Right. So what I do is I ask when it's going. I also ask the same question, when is it going to be up, and the rest. I try to follow up on when the video is going to be uploaded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see, please, before we leave, let me see the tax schema again. The schema. the schema file again. I want to check something. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right.
Okay, so in the absence of question, I think Ladell said that he had an issue, right? So, Ladell, are you still on the call? Is he still on the call? Ladell, are you still on the call? Hello? Someone said he had an issue.
Yes, I'm the one.
Okay, I'll drop a Google Meet on the channel. Then you're going to join the Google Meet and share your screen. Then from there, I'll solve the issue. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so bye from here for now, and see you on Thursday.